Hey guys, welcome to another video. My name is Ian. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. In this video, I'm going to be telling you guys my 10 favorite books of the year so far, my Q1 best of list. It has been a stellar reading year, you guys. Like, I have already read so many books that I've loved. Not all 5 stars. I'm not saying that. It doesn't have to be a 5-star to be like an amazing book that you love. But just the overall consistency of the year has been incredible. There have been a few duds here and there, but I'm not complaining. It's been banger after banger after banger. And so narrowing down this top 10 list was surprisingly difficult. Like, truly it was. For the first 3 months of the year, January, February, and March, I read a total of 35 books. And today I have my top 10 to share with you all, as well as a couple honorable mentions, which I'll tell you why they're honorable mentions. It makes sense why they're included on the list. You'll understand when I get there. Before we jump in though, I would love it if you would tell me your favorite book you've read so far this year, and yeah, let me know if any of these sound interesting to you. I sure hope so. So first off, let's go ahead and get the 2 honorable mentions out of the way. So the first honorable mention that I'm going to talk about is The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. The reason that I am putting this on as an honorable mention is the rest of my books are fiction, and I just have a hard time ranking a nonfiction book with fiction books just because they're so different in regard to your approach to them and the reading experience and what you're trying to get out of the book. So I'm not going to rank it, but I will say that this has been one of the most impactful reads that I have read in years. If you don't know anything about The Anxious Generation, it is a nonfiction book about the generation of people that grew up with the internet and with smartphones just like readily available, and the ramifications of that both in positive and often negative ways. It has a lot to say about social media, about entertainment, about how we view ourselves, about how we spend our time, and it was just so enlightening and terrifying as well. It's a book that I wish that everyone would read. It is a book that made me think not only about the people around me, but about myself and about how I spend my time, about how much of myself I put online, about how my mental state is often reflected in the content I'm consuming or how much of it I'm consuming. It's a book that really changed the way I think about some things. And as a parent, I think that it is a crucial read as well. So yes, this absolutely is an honorable mention for me because I want everyone to read it. If you're watching this video, I want you to read this book. It is incredible, so brilliant, and very, very important and timely. The other honorable mention that I wanted to talk about is Different Seasons by Stephen King. And the reason that I want to put this in as an honorable mention is that this is a collection of 4 novellas, and 2 of them are some of my favorite things that Stephen King has ever written. The other 2 are good, not as good to me. So I didn't feel good about putting the entire collection on my top 10, but in particular, Apt Pupil and Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption are some of Stephen King's best. Truly, I love both of those novellas for very different reasons. Apt Pupil is a horror story about the darkness that is within humans and how that can be bolstered up, if not kept in check. It is terrifying and truly chilling at times, and has one of the best and most traumatizing ending sentences of any Stephen King work ever. And then Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption is a story about a man who is falsely accused of a crime and gets sent off to prison. The movie Shawshank Redemption is based on it, and it's a very strong adaptation, so you kind of know what you're in for. If you've seen the movie, the story is pretty similar, but King just does such a great job of sinking into that narrative and that voice that he's trying to capture, and it's an incredible story. So both of those, incredible novellas. The other 2, The Breathing Method and The Body, were good, but not as good as the other 2 by any means. Okay, those are my honorable mentions. Now, without further ado, let's jump into my 10 favorite books of Q1 of 2025. Coming in at number 10, we have the incredibly fun science fiction novel, The Third Rule of Time Travel by Philip Fracassi. This was such a blast to read. If you like Blake Crouch stories, or if you like science fiction that reads almost like a thriller with a little taste of horror in there as well, definitely check this one out. I have a full review for this that I will link down below, but all you really need to know is that this story follows a scientist who, she and her husband came up with the technology and all that to time travel, but it's not what you normally expect, in that you can only travel for 90 seconds at a time, and you can only go to a point in your life that you have already lived, and you are only allowed to observe, not do anything. So you basically put yourself into your body at a previous time and just re-experience the things that happened then, which doesn't sound super compelling, but it definitely is. This book is full of twists, full of great rising tension, and just a lot of thrilling moments in a science fiction setting. I really, really enjoyed this one. It was a blast. Check it out. In the number 9 spot, I have Rose Matter by Stephen King. This is such an underrated Stephen King book. I thoroughly enjoyed this. In this book, we follow a woman named Rosie who at the very start of the novel escapes a terrible situation in her marriage, full of abuse and trauma, and she tries to find a new life for herself, assuming a new name, running away and trying to just start again. And this has one of King's best and most underrated protagonists. I love Rosie so much, and I just wanted so much good stuff for her. It also has a horrible villain in her husband, and some really interesting supernatural kind of things that come into play as the story progresses that will work for some people, not for others, but it totally worked for me. I had such a blast with this. Really enjoyed the slight Dark Tower ties in this as well. You don't have to have read any Dark Tower books to enjoy this novel, but I enjoyed that extra element to it, and ultimately I think this is so underrated. If you love Stephen King, you should definitely check out Rose Matter. It is really good. In my number 8 spot, I have a book that I think will bear the most fruit upon reread, in that when I reread this, because I definitely will at some point, I think it will just rise and rise in my appreciation for it, and that novel is Sula by Toni Morrison. This is an incredibly impactful and short novel that revolves around 2 young African-American women as they grow up from childhood and on, and kind of the different paths their lives take, but the way that they continue to intertwine in each other's lives throughout the years. It really has a lot of parallels in their different journeys and kind of the expectations that are put on them due to the people around them and their circumstances versus their characters. A lot of comparisons into like what we see as stereotypes based on people's upbringing, and how those things are true in some ways and not true in other ways. There's just this constant comparison between these 2 female characters, and it was really interesting and insightful to read. At the same time, I think that it is a book that kind of requires multiple reads, or at the very least like a slower read that I didn't have the time for. And so this is a book that I really enjoyed, but I think I will ultimately end up enjoying even more upon a reread, which again, it's very short, so I can definitely see myself rereading this in the near future. And at the end of the day, Toni Morrison is an incredible writer with gorgeous prose, deep themes, and an incredible execution of them in her stories. So definitely recommend Sula. It's a great starting place for Toni Morrison if you're interested in her works, which you should be, because she's amazing. In the number 7 spot, I have a collection of short stories that I adored this year. It is called Bury My Body Somewhere Nice. This is by Calvin Ellis. It is 5 stories, and that's it. And I love a short story collection. It was full of bangers, you guys. Every single story was so good, and each one was so different from the others. I was so excited just to discover what each short story was about. That's another thing I love about short story collections, is you don't know what you're gonna get. You know, with a novel, you enter in generally drawn to it by a specific premise. With short story collections, you just gotta trust the author and trust the genre, and I did, and it paid off. Each story was better than the last. I loved each of them individually, but collectively they covered so many different things that I love about the horror genre, and just about literature in general. I definitely think that Bury My Body Somewhere Nice is one of the best horror books that I will read all year, one of the best short story collections that I'll read all year, and one that is absolutely worth your time, you guys. It is short, concise, snappy, addictive, and really cheap too, so I'll leave a link to purchase it down below. You should absolutely read Bury My Body Somewhere Nice. It's so good. In the number 6 spot, I have Sleeping Giants by Renee Denfield. This book was traumatic. It really was. In this story, we follow a woman who is on a search to find answers about what happened to her younger brother, who was taken to this orphanage and had a very different upbringing from her. It was an orphanage for boys, and it was a bad place. Was not a good place. There were a couple gems of people in there, a couple good people, some shining lights in the dark, but this boy went through some horrible things in this orphanage, and reading about those experiences was incredibly claustrophobic and unhinged and unsettling and just tragic, because I know that these abuses that this boy suffered are common. And it was hard to read at times, but it was also an incredible story about human connection, about found family, about redemption and healing, and so much good stuff. There's also just a very compelling mystery as she kind of tries to unravel the things that happen in the story. And it's one that has really stuck with me, just the feelings that I had while reading this book. Really, really powerful novel. It's also quite short, so I definitely recommend you check out Sleeping Giants. Also, what a gorgeous cover. Am I right? Okay, we are in the top 5. This is a great list, you guys. I mean, all these books are great, but my top 5 are just showstoppers. So good. Let's jump into it. In the number 5 spot, we have Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. This book absolutely surprised me. I think of my top 5, maybe one other one, but of my top 5, this one is one of the most that I had the least expectations of. I had not heard too much about it. I mean, I'd seen some good early reviews, but I had not yet read anything by this author. I kind of picked it up on a whim. I got approved for an audio copy of it from NetGalley, so I was like, sure, this is kind of short. It was only like 8 or 9 hours, I think. And so I decided to pick it up, and this book blew me away. It is so multifaceted. It truly is. It is a literary story. It is a nature story. It is a mystery, kind of thriller, suspenseful story. It is a romance. It is a family story. It is just, it manages to do so much in such a short amount of time. I think this book is only probably like 300 pages. It's like almost exactly, it is exactly 300 pages, I think. And it does so much, and it feels like such an expansive story. But in this, we follow a man and his children who are on a remote island, kind of on the edges of Antarctica, or very, very close to it. And they are there trying to gather these specimens, basically, to save them as the water levels are rising, and to preserve some of the research that the scientists have been doing on this little island. They're all by themselves. They weren't always all by themselves, but they are now, which is part of the mystery. But it's a man and his 3 children, and at the very beginning of the story, a mysterious woman washes up on the shore of this remote island. How did she get there? Why is she there? What is going on? What is her relation to the people on the island? Only time will tell. But this book was so compelling. It really was. And there were just some gorgeous passages in here, not only just like on a basic like prose level, but just the description of the setting, the wildlife, the nature, the scenery, the ocean. It was just stunning. It truly, truly was. And I feel like I've only now, at the conclusion of my time with it, fully come to appreciate what this novel is, to the point that the longer I sit with this novel, it could rise up in my rankings for the year. We're gonna see, because I loved this book so much. The character dynamics were incredible, the writing was gorgeous, and there were moments in here that just took my breath away. I love Wild Dark Shore. It is a fantastic novel, and I cannot wait to read more by this author. I highly recommend. Okay, my 4th favorite book of the year so far is Poor Dear by Claire Oshetsky. This book hurt me in really quiet ways. And that's the thing about this novel. Like, it's not a big, loud story. It is a quiet whisper of a novel in a dark room that chills you to the bone, but is also weirdly cathartic. Like, that's the best way that I can describe this book. In this story, we follow Margaret, who, when she is a young girl, I think when she's 4 years old, she is in some way involved in the tragic passing of her best friend at the time. And it's really just about the aftermath of that tragic event and how it defines not only her upbringing, but how she views herself and how other people view her. It's kind of the seed at the core of her upbringing, and it's a terrible seed to have to grow up with, but she does. And this novel is all about exploring those emotions of guilt and blame, and woulda, coulda, shoulda, and also a young girl having to come up under this intense gaze that people have on her of, what could you have done? Are you responsible for this? And all the while, there's this creature called Poor Dear that is whispering in Margaret's ear, telling her to tell the truth, tell the truth, tell the truth. This is a powerful and quiet and stunning novel. Great writing, really intense atmosphere, but it's just these quiet moments that are like electrified. It's really incredible, and I really enjoyed it. It is a great work of literary fiction, a thought-provoking read, one that struck me in my core emotionally, and is one that just packs a punch. It's really, really good, you guys. I definitely recommend Poor Dear. It's a great novel. Okay, so now we're in my top 3, and each of these novels, when I read them, I had the thought to myself, this could be my favorite book of the year. Like, I thought to myself, this book is so good that I don't know if it will be topped. All 3 of these books, I had that thought. So let's get into what those books are. And ironically, this is the order that I read them in. So my number 3 is the book I read first of these, and then my number 2 is the one I read next, and then my number 1. Yeah, okay. So first up, we have Gone Baby Gone in my number 3 spot by Dennis Lehane. This is the 4th book, I believe, in the Kenzie and Gennaro series, and this book it freaking rocks. It is so good. This is a mystery story about a young girl who is kidnapped or disappears, and our 2 main private investigators, Kenzie and Gennaro, are on the case. But it is just such a like meaty, thematically mystery novel. There's this deeply rooted question in this book about like, what is right? What is the right thing to do? And is that always the legal thing to do? Is it always the on paper right thing to do? Or like that compass of morality that exists in each of us, and how it can be swayed both by circumstances, by our own experiences, and by our own personal convictions. It is such a good novel and how it explores that. Like, I loved this book. Not only is there a compelling mystery here, there's that compelling question at the heart of this story that just drives the novel and drives the characters within it, and the character dynamics and how each of them kind of confronts that question, and the mystery here, the disappearance, all of it was just, it was amazing. One of the best mystery books that I've ever read. It was hard to read at times. There were some moments that had my stomach turning. It was just tough. But it was so good. I also know that this is a movie. It's been adapted into a movie. I have not seen the movie. I want to see the movie when I have emotionally recovered from reading the book. Then I will. So maybe this year. Maybe. But yeah, definitely check this book out. Definitely check out the Kenzie and Gennaro series. The first book is called A Drink Before the War. A really good book there too. All of the books in the series are good, but this is by far the best. I've now read all 6 of them, and Gone Baby Gone is just top tier mystery book. Top tier. Okay, my number 2 book is my favorite horror book of the year so far, for sure. And I'll be shocked, like utterly shocked, if it is topped as my favorite horror book of the year. And that is When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. Ooh, this book is so good. So good. I have a review for it that I will link down below. But you guys, this book is so creative, so edge of your seat, so full of unpredictable moments that I don't even want to tell you any more than that. Just know this is a horror book that tests the limits of what a horror book can do. It has really great and relatable characters, intensely terrifying villains, and an ending that knocked my socks off. This book is amazing. 5 stars. An incredible horror book. One of my favorite horror books of all time. Please read When the Wolf Comes Home. It's so good. And now we come to my favorite book of the year, and I will be surprised if this book is topped by anything. There's a couple books that come to mind that release later this year, or that I've been prioritizing or planning on prioritizing, that could top it, but no book has come close to this in regard to the emotional reaction that it got out of me. And the novel, if you don't already know, if you didn't watch my March wrap-up, the novel is The River is Waiting by Wally Lamb. Just holding this book and looking at it just kind of makes me upset. That's the kind of reading experience it was. Okay, so this book follows Corby, who is a man who's having a hard time. He is a new parent, he's lost his job, he's depressed, he is now reliant upon substances such as alcohol and pills to get through his day. And at the very start of the novel, a horrible thing happens because of him, and the entire novel is the aftermath of that, and it is just a journey, a real emotional journey there were so many highs and lows of this story. A lot of lows, but some highs in there too. It's a story about healing, about trauma, about generational trauma, about substance abuse and addiction, and how it impacts the lives of the abuser as well as those around them. Oh man, but I've never reacted emotionally to a book like I did to this one. And every time I hold it and every time I look at it, I still get the feeling, you know? There are multiple moments in this book that had me gasping for air practically, with like how sucker punched I felt. It was just a very emotional reading experience, one that I have reflected on daily since I finished it, and one that will stick with me forever. Like, this is a book that leaves its mark on you, for better or worse. So read it if you can handle it. That is my favorite book of the year so far, of quarter one. Those are my 10-ish, 12 favorite books of 2025 so far. I hope that you found a book that you're interested in this video. If you did, let me know down below which one you are excited about reading, or ones. They're all incredible books, so I highly recommend them. Yeah, like I said, it's been a great year so far. I would not, if this was my top 10 of the year, I'd be happy. I would be so happy. I'd be disappointed that I read all my favorite books so quickly in the year and then the rest of the year wasn't as good. But this is a solid list. Like, all of these books have my full stamp of approval. So take that as you will. Thank you so much for watching, though. Hope you enjoyed. Stick around. I've got more fun videos coming up very soon. I'd appreciate it if you like this video, subscribed, all that jazz if you feel so inclined. Thank you. Hope you have a great day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.